I'm live. Hello, this is Dr. Mia Lueth. It is November 12th, 2025. It is 7:17 p.m. Eastern Time, New York, USA. And it's a sports chat. So run away. You find sports to be silly, useless. Yeah, well, you know. I disagree with you. Yes, I know. I have the NHL network. I've watched. I have watched the NHL draft 2025 quite a few times. I catch parts and pieces of it. Like I have the NHL network. Oh, it's Bailey. I know. I've seen this one a few times. Right. I know. Like I've been missing out on a good bit of ice hockey, but my mind is always there. Anyway, so I do have some fun with my little thumbnails for these. I gotta have a little fun every so often, a little levity. You know, can't be hyper serious because it'll start to weigh you down. But I mean, I understand people who are. Sometimes people are in serious, life-threatening situations daily on Earth. So my hair is like, it's at that point. This is an awkward point. My hair. I know. Someone on my direct messages on my ex account admonished me for giving my hair away to make cancer wigs. Well, sometimes you get cut that all that crap off, that negative crap, and they start getting unhealthy. You know, I mean, I give it to a verified charity, so manage me all you want. I do it anyway. um, I was in the chat. This is about the Winnipeg Jets, but definitely all, at least National Hockey League ice hockey fans, lovers, can relate. Okay, other sports too. I mean, I know that it's like this with some other sports, but I'm kind of the hockey focused nerd, and I can say that in my 20s, the way I reacted to certain things having to do with ice hockey and my understanding of it was very different than it is now. And that's because the National Hockey League ice hockey sport, and I'm talking just in the National Hockey League. Um, what's the word? I think Jim Toth. I mentioned down here on my chat that this was actually something I was thinking about posting about yesterday. I didn't get time to do it, so Jets at Noon beat me to it. Um, but I'm continuing that conversation. We as spectators, you know, don't I wish I could just jump into the game and jump in front of the net and be like, "Hey, fuck you, pal!" Ha! You know what I'm saying? Or score goals, or I like heal the injured players, or just make them indestructible so they can't ever get hurt. That'd be great. Highly unrealistic, but that would be great. But the one thing about ice hockey that I have to say is I learned over the years. So I started paying attention to semi-pro, pro ice hockey around the age of 8. So I'm 54 now, and I can say that, I'm still learning things about different parts of the game. Um, it's sort of off ice stuff. I'm learning more and more about off ice things that happen, but because they're professionals, yes, like money contracts. I don't even know. I mean, I'm still learning every day, but it's mostly kind of like how everything happens, and people's road to getting um, drafted. And remember that it is possible in the National Hockey League to actually get into the National Hockey League without being drafted. The two examples that I use, one is goalie. That's Darren R. Pang. I never say Panger anymore. I just think it's funny. It says Darren R. Pang. And Martin St. Louis, who, by the way, like toward the end of his career, I was following the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I was one of those who was a little bit surprised, to say the least, that Marty went to go play with New York, because it's just like I don't know. I'm sure I'm among many who just envisioned him retiring with the Lightning, but he made a decision based on family and other things. So, okay, great. Uh, but yeah, I could tell just toward the end of his career. I know I mentioned it a few times. Is like I think he'd make a good coach. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So I am like fully every which way kind of ice hockey fan, diehard, whatever. Okay, and I nerd out on the sport. And so the Jets started out this season, without their captain Adam Lowry and quite a few others. Okay, so key players who would play, who like knew each other and gelled with the ones who were there last season. That's why they're called key players. And some of them didn't get a chance to sort of warm up their game preseason because of injuries. So these things affect the player. The end. So if you're a newer fan and there's things you don't understand about the game, and you get frustrated, and you want to, you wish the GM would trade for this, that, and the other, just understand that is normal. Okay, in the National Hockey League, right? If players don't get a chance to go to training camp, they couldn't get on ice, like the normal everyday kind of like preseason activities that they're used to, and then getting on ice and starting home opener and doing those kind of things. Sometimes they're injured enough they don't even travel with the team. Okay, but it is normal that when they come back in, it it takes a little while to get your legs back. It takes a little while to understand, you know, how to gel best with the team. It takes a little while to kind of like build up that full game NHL mentality again. And so, me, okay, I'm going to say my expectation was the, the first games that happened. All right. There'd be guys who were really working it because they want to try and solidify a spot. Okay. And then there's guys who, might take a little bit to build up to just early season. All right. And but I knew that some of these guys would have to play extra minutes, go on a line that they're not used to going on. You know, filling in spots that will be filled in when Captain Lowry's back, which he is, and when Cole Perfetti, and then now Nyquist is down, and someone else. But when Sandberg comes back, so just putting a team on ice, okay, in those situations, my expectation after all these years of watching ice hockey, listening to GMs, listening to coaches, listening to players, is that yeah, we did start out pretty well, okay, but it was only a matter of time before the penalty killing unit would either be figured out by another team or get tired. Okay, I mean it's sort of like a slippery slope. You understand? So relying on the PK was not a long term strategy at all, and it was basically reactionary. Okay, so yes, they were taking some bad penalties. Okay, and having Jonathan Tays, kind of like re-emerging himself into the full NHL game and getting to know everybody, and then understanding how to play his best within certain structure. Jets ice hockey, this too might take a little time. So I am not. I learned not to analyze so much because there are always things I have found out over the years. There are always things that we as spectators don't really know. So I'm just going to put this as an example. So Nyquist went out with an injury, but it is entirely possible these things happen in the National Hockey League in every club all the time. We just don't know about it. Nyquist could have been playing injured, and something happened that exacerbated an injury. I'm not saying that is the actual case, but that could be the case. Okay, players go out, they will play injured. Okay, it just depends on what the docs say and how they're looking and how they're feeling, and the hope is they don't get injured in the same place again. So sometimes they're kept off, but sometimes they play. And then sometimes, let's just say they were already playing injured, and then something else happened, and now you got two. So it's just best, right, that they don't and give them time to heal up. This is something that every single hockey franchise in the National Hockey League has to deal with regularly, every single day in and day out. Okay, and so I was on the Jets check-in, and they do that um, on game days with Sarah and Jamie. And I look at the chat, and I do throw in every so often, Happy Movember, gentlemen. Movember. I know. But it's important. Well, because I give a shit. And screw you don't like it. Okay? But my thoughts were, okay, one, with Lau's out, like people have to fill in. And that was not meant to be a permanent thing because they knew he was going to come back out in the play. And then other injured players, like it's we get the news. It's like, okay, well they're skating, and maybe traveling with the team, but they're still in yellow no contact. So that means they're getting closer. Okay, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, okay, I'm not saying you're like not an ice hockey fan. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that some of us are just nerdy enough when we pay really close attention, and I've understood kind of these things that can happen every single day, and I don't get as concerned. And I don't like roller coasters. Okay, so I just learned to understand that there's stuff we don't know. Okay, I also know they're playing another team. And there are times when the number one team, goes up against another team that might be lower in the standings. People, it's like that is no longer the proper way to be looking at the National Hockey League. Because, I've seen teams that have made the Stanley Cup Finals at some point in the regular season go through like a 7-game losing streak. Okay, that can happen. All right. Um, and parity. People talk about this parity, right? I mean, everyone has worked hard to make everything as fair play as they can. It's another reason for the salary cap and other things. So always be aware that you can't really second guess what the actual true whole real vision is and what the actual true whole real of their structure is. Okay, and it can change from year to year. Not like totally like torn down, built back up, but tweaked. Okay. Um, there are rules that players are asked to, some players sort of have to restrain. They may want to. That's also called playing away from the puck. Okay. And so, for those of you who are a different kind of fan, playing away from the puck means there's all these players on your team who don't have the puck. You understand? So, the things you do when you do not have possession of the puck. Now, that can mean several different things, but that's an important phrase in ice hockey. Okay, so over the years, I've just learned to just look at every kind of positive. Okay, as a fan, and it's helped me immensely. Right, and what I'm going to say is, those people who are not sports fans. Okay, I know you might look at some of us and be like, what's the matter with you? Like, what? Yeah, I get it, but it's a thing. I mean, me particularly, I love the sport of ice hockey, just in general. And over the years, all these people in the National Hockey League, and now some in the AHL and other places, it's like it's almost like they're like family, because I've been, I listen to, these announcers, these analysts. I saw these guys play. I listened to, their press through their entire careers. I'm old enough now to say, yes, a couple generations. I've, seen guys just like this get drafted, just like I'm watching right now in the NHL. They're redoing it, and then retire. And then their kids come in. And that's when you're getting a little older. a little bit older. When you see their kids, like, oh my God, it's Ty Domi's kid. I'm getting older. So I've seen at least 2 generations come into the league and then retire through the whole NHL. But I don't just pay attention to the Winnipeg Jets, because I love ice hockey. I like anything hockey related. I'm all over. If I can, I do. Every opportunity that's presented to me. Yeah, I mean, yes, this is very true. Um, but over time, I've just learned that there's stuff I don't know. So I may be looking at something and sort of, surmise, oh my God, if we're losing that badly, and that's not, wait, okay. But they did a poll on one of them, and I'm trying to think, it was probably Huss, Winnipeg Pig Sports Talk did a poll, how concerned are we as fans about the 3-game losing streak in California. California was not our friend, not at all. And what I'm also going to tell you, and me, I think it was like 1 through 10, and I just put a 2. I was not the only one. Someone else put a 1, not that concerned at all, and someone else put a 2, like I did. And the reason why is because it's like, well, number one, we do have some really good natural goal scorers on our team. Okay, they know how to play ice hockey, and there are times when you get teams who will take you off guard straight out the gate. Another team ate their shreddies and Wheaties and got their multivitamins and were just like hell bent on getting the jump on you and just keep coming at you and walking out of there with 2 points. It happens to every team in the National Hockey League. It happens to teams that actually go on to win a Stanley Cup. So once you see that perspective, okay, in the broader perspective, this is not that bad. I also did mention on a few of them, and I think it was like Check-In and also Winnipeg Sports Talk with Husky. The Anaheim Ducks, or sorry, the Sharks, okay, beat the Jets 2-1. I think that was on Friday. And then the next night, played against the Kraken. And the difference between those two, I'm saying 2-1, that's not so bad. And considering they were playing closer to even than you might think, the Jets and the Sharks, okay? But if you look the next night, and they were tired from the day before, they played 2 nights in a row. They ran over the Kraken 6-1. Now that was a run over. Okay, that was, yes, they handedly, right, gave them the nice big L on the column. And they had played the night before. So all things considered, you look at the 2-1, it's kind of like, plus they also had to stay on the tarmac. There were travel issues. This is the other thing that happens with road games. Sometimes road games, like, sap the energy out of some people and teams, especially, yes, they did. They had to sit around for 8, 9 hours. I don't know, but there were some travel issues that had to do with the Jets. I'm not making excuses. I'm saying this stuff adds to gameplay. Okay, it does factor a little. All right, but considering the fact that the Sharks just ran over the Kraken the next day, 6-1, that 2-1 loss really, I mean, it wasn't that bad. Right? Granted, I mean, the Ducks ran us over. It wasn't a complete beatdown, but the Ducks ran us over. But I'm going to tell you the other thing that I know for sure, because I listen and I read books written by, I read articles written by people who've been in the league, and I listen to as much of the interviews I can get my little ears on. Okay, I go like scour through the Jets website. I look on all the sites. I scour through YouTube, and I try and listen to everybody, including Illegal Curve. Which, by the way, I know I said Spit and Chicklets like a couple of posts back. Sorry, Spit and Chicklets. There's so much hockey stuff. I meant Illegal Curve, and they do have proper access. Yes, press access. So scratch what I said before. A lot of hockey stuff, and I'm trying to get kind of like back into the swing of things. So to me, I knew straight out, knowing knowing Adam Lowry enough from the years he's been in and listening, and especially Taser, at least those two for sure took that loss on the Sharks personally. I guarantee it. They were probably like, if I were a coach, I wouldn't say a thing. I would just like look at him and go, "Oh, you know." Well, we have to concentrate on our next game. You know. That's all I would have to say. Like, you know, they deserve to lose. Okay? But I've also learned, I mean, that's why I know. I'm like, well, I know they're not just sitting there like, oh, well, we got a paycheck. Okay, right. Bullshit. Okay. Especially Taser. Right. And of course, Adam, he's the captain. And other guys on the team too, but those two for sure, I know. Like, no. Leaving that ice, like, oh, okay, we got to get our shit together. Like, we can't let that happen again. Not like that. So, I'm sure there's other guys also, and I'm pretty sure one of them even said so. And there was some press, I guess it was online, 680. I think it was a pregame. Um, yeah, I think it was a pregame interview. Yeah, I think that was one of the questions that was asked. It was like, dude, and I know for a fact. I mean, like I know, I don't just think I know at 100%. So to try and keep more of an even keel as a spectator, because I also know I may want the GM think that the GM should trade for this one or that one or the other thing, but I I don't think like that because you know it's not like it's actually possible, right? I mean, players have contracts. Some of them are restricted free agents. Some of them are on waivers. Some of them unrestricted free agents. Some of them don't want to play for them. I mean, I think they should. I mean, maybe they should reconsider. But they will pick places that where they don't want to play, or places the top five they do want to play, and they're locked in on contracts. So, and there's only a certain amount of movement that general managers can make. They can't trade all season long. They can't just like pass players back and forth and back and forth. It does happen a lot more than it used to. 30 years ago, it started changing. But I know that kind of thinking doesn't help. Okay, me as a fan, because I may not know who's available. I don't have the list of people who are available, even if it is during it, right? I don't have that in my possession. And so that's why I say I just learned to trust that given all circumstances, you know, Chevy, the management team, the coaches, the scouts, everybody work together to make the best trades possible and the best signings possible. There are tons and tons of considerations we as fans don't really know about that well. And I mean, I would like to learn them. I try to listen as much as I can. I try to learn. I do stay quiet a lot because, like, I wasn't hugely disappointed, okay? And I wasn't thinking, oh my God, there we go. We blew the season, blah, blah, blah. Some people are a little more pessimistic, okay? So I have learned to look at positives. And so one of the things that I mentioned on the chat is look, Lowry has had time to shake off rust. Okay, Taser's had time to sort of like, you know, be a full part of what's going on and mesh with the guys and get back to his full NHL game and within the structure of the Jets way. Cole Perfetti, he's probably still warming up a little. Okay, this is natural and normal in the National Hockey League. Okay, also people may not have seen this, but the way the Ducks play this year, like they're aggressive pressure in their ozone. And I know that who was it? Liz and Connor. Yes, they were doing the Sunday show. Um, one burning question, right? I mean, the question was, do you think they're gonna, play Vasilevsky? I mean, not Vasilevsky. Sorry, I got goalies on the brain all the time. Hellebuck and a few others thought so too, but he didn't. He played comps. Well, see, here's the good news. Anytime a goalie gets time on ice, okay, that is a learning experience, and comms is still on that learning curve developing. Okay, Hellebuck's already there, so then it's just minor little tweaks as he goes. Okay, um, but comms had chance to experience that kind of aggressive pressure. Okay, so all things considered, he handled himself pretty well, all things considered. All right, and he made some good saves. So that's good news. Okay, so having both of them, not get too cold is a good idea. All right. Also, there were personal milestones like Kyle Connor, 600 point. Like they're all getting personal milestones too. Okay, I mean, also it was a good sign that Stanley beat his own record. I don't understand where that Stanley hate comes from. I've never understood that actually. Right. I mean, he shows up. What am I supposed to tell you? You know, he wants a bigger role. I honestly think he can handle it. But there's only so many spots. There's only so many minutes. You understand that anyone, any coach can't put everybody on ice all the time. That's against the rules. Okay? I understand completely, but I've learned to just kind of be a much more stable fan that way because, you know, I know for a fact. I didn't need to look at any press, and I didn't need to be there physically, and I don't really need to know Jonathan Toews personally or Adam Lowry or anyone on the team. I mean, that'd be cool, I guess. Right? But I just know them from their years of being in the National Hockey League and listening to press and watching them play. And I know for a fact that Adam Lowry and Jonathan Toews were unhappy with themselves and how the whole team played and meshed. And I know that a lot of those guys walked off the ice after the Sharks game knowing full well, like, holy shit, wake up call, oh boy. Like, that's what I'm saying. If I were a coach in the room, I'd just be looking at them like, well, like, right? But this is the other thing that players need to do, okay? And I know this is a fact, and it actually helps them to think like this. They only have so much time, so they can review a little bit of some things after the game. Okay, these things are definitely spots we need to like take a look at. But also, here's what you were doing really well. Okay, so some of them, there were some guys on the ice who were kind of putting in a good effort, all things considered. But you also have to remember they have another team they're playing against. So it's not always up to your team. And no team wins them all, and no team loses them all. And in the NHL these days, last place team can actually beat the first place team. So the way it used to be looked at is no more. So once you realize that as a fan, you kind of like, okay, well, this happens. This happens to other teams, right? Because I follow the NHL as much as I can get into. So I've learned I'm a more even keeled fan, and I wasn't that concerned. Um, the Ducks game was. I think my response. I got on my X account, and I think I just put well shit and sent it over to the Jets. Like, well shit. Like, still some things but there were still good things going on. Some guys were elevated, okay? And they're still trying to get some injured people. I mean, as soon as they get someone on, right, someone else goes off. Like maneuvering through injuries. It is not as cut and dry as many people might actually think. So, as a fan, just understand that, they're not losing on purpose. Okay. And sometimes the other team, like, just has that mojo and they'll beat your team. So sometimes, even when your team loses, it's not really that bad. This is why I mentioned, okay, now the Sharks game, I mean, they know. They said it. It was humbling, but it's best to get that wake up call earlier in the season than like March. Okay. And like I said, playing without the captain. The other good thing, Lowry has somebody who's copacetic in that locker room all the time because Taser was a captain and he understands. Okay, so it's kind of like that little like unspoken support. Okay, so if they talk amongst each other, and yes, Wayne Stanley got 2 goals. Okay, now I know the primary goal scoring. I know that's a thing, everybody. Right? I I don't have a say in that. You understand? Other than to just keep, looking at the positive. So I take the time to look at all the positive. Okay, instead of concentrating on this way, you know, I I take the time as a fan to like, oh crap, man, you guys like threw that game away. Oh shit. Okay, well let's not try to do that again. You know what I'm saying? But I also know how some of the players think and how some of the players are. Like I said, Taser and Lowry for sure knew. And so did probably other guys like, oh shit, yes. Okay, wake up call, hello. We can't let that be happening too much more. But there's still positives. Okay, it's another reason if you take time to listen to the coach. Coach can't say everything. Coach can't explain everything, but the coach will say, okay, well, they were doing pretty good this night, and they like in the second period they were getting some good. They just were having trouble. Coaches, know how to assess that, and if the coach is not like completely bedraggled or like looking at the press like, if I say something, I'll say the wrong thing. I'm not doing press safe. Nah, we're having a team meeting tomorrow. All right, just go home, leave me alone. Okay, like then you might be like, okay, yeah, they're sucking it up for some reason, and we don't know why. Okay, but over the years, I've learned that there's always something we don't know. Okay, and we honestly can't control who plays and who doesn't play. So we have to kind of like that's what I'm saying. Learn to trust that the franchise is working on those things that need to be worked on. Okay, and yeah, the Ducks. I mean that was rough too. However, like I said, I wasn't that concerned. Lowry's been in long enough, I think, to shake out the rest. Perfetti is. Taser's, meshed in pretty well. Combs is getting some good time on ice. Helly is Helly. Thank heavens. And, Stanley and Pianco were actually got some good chemistry going. The coach, they have to figure out who they're going to put with who, um, and who might have to get sent down. Okay, all of these decisions are not ours to make. And so once you, like, okay, there's nothing I can do about it other than keep being a fan. Okay, your favorite player may get traded. Somebody, the key player might go down tomorrow. No, no, no. Anti jinx. See what I'm trying to say? So, as a fan, over this period of time, if they'd have gotten like 7 games in, then yes, concern would be blaring. You know what I'm trying to say? Um, but I mean, they're getting there, and we do have to remember it is an 82 game season. We're only halfway through November. Um, I know that every time these guys play, they learn. All right, and they even say sometimes it's like takes a little while for a couple few players get their legs going. Sometimes, like I mean, this happens in actually pro sports. It just they're human beings. Now, see when we say yeah, we care. Okay, I don't. I care because I love the sport. I care because I'm a fan of the Winnipeg Jets and I want to see them be successful and all that kind of stuff. And of course, we jump on for the ride. But I am much less pessimistic than some people. I give them the benefit of the doubt. And to get out of that pessimistic, like start training yourself to look at the positive. Like Kyle Connor got, 600. Find things, like I said, we have a positive in Winnipeg. Okay, Taser knows what it's like to be a captain. And so Lowry kind of has that, person they can, if he who understands what it's like to be a captain. So, I mean, it's a good sign that our PK was doing well. Um, they obviously understood that, taking bad penalties does, you know, wear down their penalty killers. Um, Power plays, right? We did score on a power play. Um, I'm not worried. I read something today. The Jets at noon a comment, it says they're flailing and they're, I'm just like, what? They're not flailing. Okay. A little, there was a bit of a bumpy situation there. Okay. But flailing, no. Okay. If you're going to say anybody's flailing or struggling, well, we might want to look at the Buffalo Sabres. Okay. That's not what's happening. It isn't. So, as a fan, one, sending your best thoughts, okay, to now me, I know for a fact, 100%, this is the truth. Win as a team, lose as a team. Okay, and it takes the whole bench and it takes other support staff. You understand? It's not just them on ice. Okay, when it comes right down to it, they're the ones who have to execute, but there are other factors. There are rules. There are things they have to rein in. Like trying not to get a penalty, trying not to bunch up, trying not to, like swarm on the puck, staying right, playing away from the puck properly. Doing those things to get the momentum and then build from there. We do have people who rotate on and off ice who can score. That's like on the blue line. So some of that you can look at as even tertiary scoring. Okay, but yes, we do want the forwards to kind of be able to get that thing in that a little more, and they're working. I know they are, and so all those people who are concerned, they won, and there were good things that happened on the ice, and they can play better. But they're getting there, and so just for your own sakes, remember. Okay, well, I'm not the GM and I'm not the coach, and so just like this is a team that is here, and let's just cheer them on, send your positive thoughts. Like, you got this. Like, okay, we got this. All right. Okay, that was a dumb penalty. Oh, well, here we go. PK on the PK. Here we go. PK. Wow. Okay. Like, quite literally, understand that we don't always understand. And that there are things we don't know about. And there's considerations that players have to think about that we don't. And, there's personalities, there's coaching, there's, just basic human behavior things too. Um, and even them as pro athletes have a few bad games, man. Sometimes the team has a few bad games. It happens to even the teams that win the Stanley Cup. So don't be talking about a curse. There's no curse. There's no curse. You understand? Like, learn to look at it a little more positively. Okay, find the good things that are happening, because you can find them no matter what. Even if your team gets run over, there's something. Okay, somebody was a standout, that, or at least nobody got injured. You know what I'm trying to say? They're just ways to look at it, to find the little positives. And I get it, you care, but we cannot control player personnel ourselves. And so just like, come, let yourself not worry about that. Just trust your teams doing what they can, trying to get the best deals, trying to put the right guys on ice. Injuries happen all the time, constantly having to shift and adjust. It's a constant shifting and adjusting all the time. It's just constantly shifting and adjusting. And there's all sorts of things that we don't know about. So instead of, oh, we should do this, try and look at it more like, I hope that, Perfetti's line, can Joe and get a few more in. I hope that Nyquist gets well and Sammy's back on ice. I hope that we take fewer penalties. Okay, so it's sort of like a brain training. I'm a fan. You understand? I am definitely a fan. I don't. I love the sport. I studied the sport. I mean, I wish I could play it. That's not my room. No, no. But I understand these things because I take so much time to read and learn, and I'm still learning about stuff. But basically, the way these guys think, the things they have to go through, now that I understand, no matter the position. Goalies are a little different, but I understand. And that is why I am constantly, I will try to go in a chat and say, well, the good stuff is this. Okay, so if they can, keep up doing the good stuff, Okay, and then work on the stuff that kind of needs to be worked on. There is a lot of considerations on ice. Rules, who's where's the puck, smart play, you know, do I pass, do I hold, or how far away is that guy, do I have time to wait to commit? There's all sorts of it. Now, it doesn't happen that way. It's happening instantaneously. They're just, quick thinkers, which is another thing. Is like, okay, well, a lot of people, listen, if you don't think you have the athletic prowess and know-how and skill to get on NHL ice, then maybe you should give the team and the players the benefit of the doubt a little more. Remember that we don't have control over who gets traded or who gets, injured or who gets to start. So I'm saying this because I get being a fan. Like, yes, I am. After the Ducks game, I'm like, yeah. Well, shit, fellas. Like, okay, we're going the wrong way. All right, get out of California. California bad. California. But we also have to remember, yes, that they are on a very long road trip, and so they have to kind of like conserve and do these kind of things. So, um, the fact that Lowry was out, everyone else kind of had to fill in. So take a deep breath. All right, it's fine to be a fan. It's fine to be an outspoken fan, but try not to be as pessimistic of it because it affects you. I mean, I get it, but I don't just care because I love ice hockey. I mean, this isn't all about me. This is also about them. They're human beings. Like I care about them as human individual people too. Okay, I mean, so I'm one of those kind of people. Hang on. Hello. Right. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Michelle. I don't think she's here. I haven't seen her in several hours. Yes, this is what happens in my little teeny tiny studio. Is also in my bedroom and the house, and I have to get up and do stuff. I don't get paid to do this. I know I'm amateur hour, but this is just something that I understand sports fan wise. Like you just like, oh my god, so many turnovers, and yeah, it affects us. But as fans, try and let go of some of the stuff we know we don't have control of. Okay, but it actually, like, the more of us who are thinking positively, it does translate to the players in the franchise, and it actually does make that tiny little bit of difference. Okay, it does. So the more optimistically you're looking, I mean, you don't have to get delusional about it, but you do have to understand that almost any team in the National Hockey League, no matter their ranking, can beat another. Teams that have gone on to win Stanley Cups have had like 7 game losing streaks. Okay, there's no curse. Forget about that crap. I mean, some of them are superstitious enough. Like, wipe that out. Like, what? There's no curse. That's just a lot of talk and BS. Okay, it's just like standard rhetoric is basically meaningless. But you gotta trust that the players, and I know they're doing it. I know the Jets are doing it. Okay, I know for sure the Jets are doing it. They do. They after the game, they might discuss some things, or they might wait till them. But basically, they're just like, oh, okay, well, let's not repeat this and this. But here, see, we did this. Okay, we got to keep building on that. But they need to immediately start preparing for the next game. Okay, and it's the best kind of mindset that they can have because they don't want to be like stuck like oh my god, what if I do that? Like there's just some stuff that doesn't need to happen, but we as fans like trying to be as positive as we can and understanding that we don't understand everything, and sometimes they can't even talk about it. Like there's stuff that they just don't, trying very hard to find positive even in the game. They lost pretty handedly. Try not to give up. Try to be less pessimistic about it because it's you don't want too much stress. Like I mean, yeah, we don't want people exploding. I mean, I understand, but it can actually like cause you like physical stress can cause you, or the stress of that can cause you some physical situations sometimes. So I get it. Sports fans, I know. Trust me, I know. Okay, but we don't want everybody like getting drunk because our team is going down. Right, all right. But if there's a team that's flailing, it isn't the Winnipeg Jets. Okay, all things considered, given the entirety of the NHL, you have to understand these things. Absolutely, the Buffalo Sabres are. I don't know what's happening with the Oilers. Okay, but this time of year, it's better that these guys figure out. Oh, okay, we really got to be a little more heads up, like, a little more vigilant. Okay, we need to, put a little time on avoiding this, doing this, and doing more of that. There's always something good that happens though on ice, even if they lose. But I know as they're human people is another thing that I know. Okay, the little things could affect their game that we don't even think about because we're not out there. Players play injured a lot, and then sometimes like they were okay and everything's okay, but then like they get another injury, and then that's just too much. They have to, or whatever they injured before. Like it got re-injured to the point where yeah, okay, now it's off ice. We have to go and heal. There are a lot of positives. We have Hellebuck for crying out loud. Com's is looking pretty good, and he's learned a lot. Yes, from Hellebuck, and he's still developing. Like he's still getting better. And Laos is back, and he's had a chance to like shake off some of that rust, and kind of like figure out. He's got somebody who's a simpatico in the room because Taze has been a captain. Morrissey decided he felt like being the star of the show. So we have defensemen who can score. We have at least three lines who've shown they can score, but you know these things are some stuff that we can't control. But I mean, I do as people. I appreciate them just as people too. I mean, I like ice hockey people, right? So it may seem naive to some, and it might seem delusional to some, but quite frankly, there's always something good about something that happened on ice. There might be a couple guys who are just like, going above and beyond. It might be like, surprise double goal scorer, somebody who wasn't even ever asked really to score. But the only other thing that I'm going to discuss, because it's about an hour, is 33 is not old. Okay, some of you are doing this to yourselves, fans. Okay, you're getting depressed and pessimistic and that kind of thing. 33 is not old. A lot of younger guys still do puppy things. You can have a younger team, okay, but they gotta learn and they gotta grow and learn together. And most like totally freshman teams that are under the age of like 25 don't make it to the playoffs, and they certainly, if they do, well, that's a huge surprise. They're still learning. They're still growing. They're still finding their games. So sometimes just getting out of the mentality of things that you hear, that's just not true. 33 is not old for a National Hockey League player. That's just not true. Um, and definitely for goalies, 33 is about like sometimes that's where goalies peak. And then from there, it's just little tiny little things and adjustments they make during game time. Right? This whole mentality, okay, that 33 is old in the National Hockey League. I mean, you're just like hurting yourselves. You're causing yourselves undue emotional anxiety. And remember, we as fans can't control who gets traded and who doesn't get traded. Okay, we can't control what happens on ice. And the little bit that we can do is basically just try to look at as many positives as you can. Now, like I said, if the team is like on home ice and like the B players and they're well rested and like the other team's got all kinds of injuries, so they basically got like people coming up from the AHL and all kinds of and they still like handily beat your team. But then boo, and they deserve it. That's rare. I mean, I care. I want them to win. I'm along for the ride like the rest of us are. But I don't analyze that much. I'll look at stats, I'll talk about things. I'm participating more in conversations because I have more opportunity. And I'm kind of, I'm disabled. So it gives me something to look forward to. But I've been nerding out on ice hockey in a variety of ways since I was like 8 years old. And I know this game really well. And I've learned how players think and things that like we just wouldn't ever think of actually affect games. So just try to remember that even if your team loses, there's good things that have happened. Okay. Okay, it might be individual statistics. It might be Okay, well that was a good learning game there. It was learn right not to do that again, whatever that was. Okay, but they did win again, and there's still some, you know, learning and adjusting. And technically speaking, players are learning and adjusting all the time. So there's only so much Chevy can do. Okay, so trying to be a little more positive and a little more understanding of, well, we don't really have control over this stuff. So I love the sport. I'll watch a game if they're losing. I don't ever get bored. I don't. I mean, to me, there's no such thing as a boring ice hockey game, because sometimes it's that smart, everyday kind of stuff that they do. That you might have to cycle and cycle and cycle. You might have to play keep weight. You might have to play away from the puck much longer than you thought. These things happen, and fire wagon is nice, but when your team gets like into like the semifinals of the Stanley Cup, the hunt for the Stanley Cup, fire wagon is gonna be rare. But it's just exciting because your team is in it, right? So we are fortunate that the Jets are in that situation where they are building for playoffs. I have every confidence they're going to make it to the playoffs. I don't just say those things. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We definitely have those kind of positives, no matter what that California did to us. That's a learning curve, too. So, as fans, sometimes we got to remember we don't really have control over those things. And, sometimes, like, the franchise appreciates that we can like help them stay positive, and that we can appreciate that, no, okay, we're not the ones doing it on that stuff. Go you guys. Okay? I mean, it makes a difference. I mean, I wish I could be in the building. I wish I lived in Manitoba. I wish I had money. I could just like have season tickets. I mean, quite literally, I'd live in the building if I could. Trust me. If somebody lets me do that, I'll do it. I don't care. Yeah, just follow the team around all day, like, you magnificent son of a bitch. Look at you. Like, nobody in the NHL knows how to do the face-offs like you do. Yeah, man. Like, I would constantly just be throwing out, not just fake compliments, but actually, like, yes, really, this you're really good at this. I wish I could. So as a sports fan, we do, but we have to just remember that the team may not, because they understand that it is a grind. It can get to be a grind, and they have to get motivated certain ways. And sometimes they get tired, and sometimes it's just like, yeah, they run across a team who is just brick walling you, and they're just like got the pressure. So you have to learn to play both ends. And I know that the coach and quite a few of the players doing press have mentioned similar things. Okay, you know, we care, but we should also care about the fact that we don't have control over those things, and it makes it easier to be a positive, supportive fan. Okay, because the team's going to lose sometimes, and I mean, in the case of Paul Maurice, I'll put it to you this way. I mean, he just knew. He stepped away. He just says, well, they need to hear a different voice. They need to hear something new, just right. Okay, so sometimes decisions get made. I mean, for the good of the team. I mean, he wasn't fired, but he just knew he's reading the room. You understand? So, as Jets fans, like we should help each other, remind each other on the chats and other kind of things. Just like, all right, but the positives are there too, and just being a little more aware that we really can't control that, but what we can do is just be as positive as we can and understand that we don't understand the all the complexities that happen on the NHL ice. And you know, it's never just as simple as get rid of the goalie. It's never just as simple as fire the coach. It is never, ever, ever, never that simple. Win as a team, lose as a team. It takes the whole bench. Even that guy gets like 5 minutes. Okay, so we can like cheer them on so that each and every one of them has a positive outcome on ice together as a team. All right. It may seem naive and it may seem yada blah, but I've been a hockey fan for long enough to know it helps me as a fan, be supportive through seasons where maybe, 2 seasons from now we're going to be in, win now playoff, building for playoff. Every franchise goes through that, every single one of them. So I know this, and it makes it easier for me as a fan to stay positive about these things because I know that it happens to other teams. Okay, there are teams in the NHL right now that aren't really, they're building for the future and they're playing, and they might surprise. So I'm not saying that, but it's not something that they're having that pressure on them right now. The Jets, the team, they have, there are high expectations. So it's okay to be a little down. It's okay to be a little grumpy. It's okay to be emotional. But just for our sake, too, just as fans, you know, remember that we really can't. We're not the GM and we can't play on the NHLs. And, we aren't the coach. So we have um, under, we do not understand everything that happens. So we should just trust them and cheer them on as best we can. Stay positive. Okay, it takes some brain training, but as a fan, it helps. Okay, it really does. Like it's like a mental health kind of thing. So yeah, I'm a Jets fan, but I care about them as humans too, which is why I'm not the kind of fan. I'm going 113. All right, I try to keep it to an hour. I when I see a player, no matter what team, go down and not get back up. Oh boy, I'm on the okay. Power prayers, rise up. Let's, this one here, power pray, and even if it's on the other team, like they're human beings too, and they have human situations in their lives, and sometimes they affect what's going on ice. Sometimes they'll try and hide it because of all these expectations. So we should learn to go a little easier as fans so that we can actually enjoy the fact that we are watching ice hockey or listening to it. I have to listen most of it. I do end up seeing some stuff after the fact, but I listen on um, 680 CJOB. And so I know that there's hello other fans. So uh, there's some work that I could probably do to get these looked at more, but I just put them out. And if somebody sees it, fine. If not, I like talking about ice hockey, so I'm happy anyway. This channel will never ever be monetized ever, and you know, to people who are like me, who have serious illness, and I have physical disabilities. It's more noticeable now than it used to be. Yeah, I have a highly aggressive form of um, osteoarthritis. So yeah, I'm falling apart all over the place. I tell people I got over the hill. Like I'm over the hill now, and then like I didn't know. Nobody told me when I was that I was just gonna go like sliding down face first, bumping into rocks, and smashing trees. Once you get down the hill, jeez, Christmas Almighty. And I know that's very confusing to people because I look much younger than people. I'm like, I can't help it. This is my baby face. Also, yes, some of us are born with these. Okay, mine is not a frown. Like, I'm not frowning. Everything's fine. Like, people aren't really good at reading me in certain ways, but I have gotten really good at reading the room through the press and media. And that's the other thing is, you know, the Jets faithful, as much as we all might want to talk about stuff. I mean, I'm not pressed, but we do also need to, sometimes remind each other, like, well, but this is going on, and yeah, well, it could also be this, and a coach said that this, so, but also like fans that interact. We should all help each other, right? Like, you know, not go like off the rails. You know what I'm trying to say? More even keel fandom, which doesn't mean you don't have emotions. It doesn't mean that you don't care. Of course, that's why we get like this. But for these guys in the National Hockey League, it's like family to me. I've been listening to certain people. I've been watching. I mean, when somebody gets sick, I'm concerned. When somebody gets really hurt badly, I'm concerned. When they're a member of their family, when they go through something, I'm feeling empathy for them. I'm sending them like good thoughts. I pray for them. So I've been at this for a while, and just remember there's stuff you probably don't know, and try and find a positive. So go Jets, go! I'm sure the gameplay is going to improve. It just is. I mean, we actually have that. It is a definite positive. There's good signs all over the place, even in all that. We are not flailing, and Stanley is not dragging us down. Okay, that's just not the case. So go Jets, go! Sports fans, like some of us, we understand. And the National Hockey League hockey is complex. There are all kinds of things that are on these guys' minds in preparation and things that they have to do and consider while they're on ice at that speed. And it's also best to look at it more like a game of opportunities than anything else. Okay, game of mistakes is very negative, and it can actually start damaging the good mental health of players. Actually, so for the players, just like it's best to just look at it like it's a game of opportunities, and it is win as a team, lose as a team. So, go Jets, and may the injuries not happen. May you never get injured. Yay. All right. So, there you go, sports fans. Have a good night.